Now, one thing about variables that are important to point out is that in JavaScript, variables are dynamically typed. In some programming languages, a variable, when it is established, you need to specify what type of type it will contain. For example, this variable will always contain a string. Well, that's not true with JavaScript. It's dynamically typed. So, for example, dog name is already a variable we've created, and it contains Rover. Well, we could change that to a number. Notice the syntax error it gave me is because I did not enter the assignment operator. So now dog name is equal to 5 instead of the string. So that's an example of dynamic typing in JavaScript. One other thing I want to show you with string values. And to show you this, I want to set dog name back to its original value. Now dog name contains a string. Because it is a string and JavaScript knows it is a string, we have access to some other things we can do with it. One of those is a length property. And when I enter that, it comes back as 4, meaning there are 4 characters in that string. So certain value types have additional methods which you can perform on them. String is an example of that. There are more than just length, but length gives you an initial idea of what's possible. Now finally, let's talk about valid names for variables. Some terms cannot be used for variable names. They are reserved keywords for JavaScript. Var is one of those. So I could not do var equals 10. If I try to do that, it gives me unexpected token var. That token cannot be used in the place where I used it in that statement because it is illegal as a variable name because it is a reserved keyword. There are other reserved keywords in JavaScript as well, and they're mainly things that are used in a language. For example, in an if statement, we use an if. So I cannot use if as the name of a variable either. Variables are a central part to anything you do in any programming language. One last concept I want to mention about variables is when you declare a variable, make sure you use the var keyword. It is possible to declare a variable without the var keyword, as I've done here. That works. That's possible to do. However, I recommend that you get in the habit of always using the var keyword when you're declaring a variable. One final concept that is important to mention is that variables can contain any value. Mainly we've been looking at strings and numbers, but variables are not limited to just strings and numbers. I can also enter Booleans into a variable. We can enter undefined and null, which we'll talk about in a subsequent movie. We can also enter objects into variables, any type of object in JavaScript. I mentioned that arrays, functions, objects, those are all objects. Those can all be stored in a variable as well. So keep that in mind, that you can store any value in a variable. All right, let's move on to the next topic.